Hello and welcome to the day 6, the last day of the P7 Prepare to Pass webinar being organized by ACCA Pakistan. I'm Kashif Kamran, your tutor. This is a very important day. We decided the agenda yesterday for the day 6, which is a day for mock debriefing. And obviously in the next 2 hours, you would be learning a lot in terms of attempting the P7 paper. Now over the day, from Monday to Friday, that was the day 1 to day 5, we had focused on the core blocks of P7, which makes a 100 marks paper. We focused on risk. We focused on both the business risk, the audit risk, the risk of material misstatement. We then focused on the ethical and professional issues. We focused on the evidence type 1, type 2. We had to focus on other assignments. And yesterday, we had a very strong focus on reporting and some very strong concept building on some of the key areas which are highly probable for reporting in March 18 exams. Now, yesterday, towards the end of the day 5, we had a very clear agenda as to what we should be doing today on the last day. If I just recall the agenda again, which was spelled yesterday, the agenda was to how to handle a 100 marks paper in 3 hours, how to choose the optional questions, how to gain 4 professional marks in the first question, what are high important areas for March 18 exams, and finally, what are final opportunities for taking a 50 plus score in P7. I hope all of you are enthusiastic now ahead of your March exams, and all of you would now be delivering your best of performance in March 18 exams and will get through this paper Okay, I'll be discussing a lot of important things today. Let's start first with handling the paper before coming down with a mock debriefing. Okay, the very first thing we are focusing on today is how to handle the paper. And that is such an important thing, right? Because I've seen so many students repeating the P7 paper that they normally don't complete a 100 marks paper. It is a big challenge. It is a big challenge in P7 that how you complete a 100 marks paper within 3 hours. Let's start an exercise on that and let's see how good we are in terms of handling a paper in terms of 3 hours. Now we know there are 3 hours of the writing time you have in P7, and then you have 15 minutes, which is normally referred to as a reading and planning time. And in all, you have to attempt 4 questions out of 5. Now, how to go about it? Is there any simple mathematics we can do to make these 3 hours split apart on the full paper? Let's see if that is possible. What I believe is I'm taking all the Pakistan standard times. Suppose in terms of the Pakistan standard time, the paper starts at 2 and from 2 to 2:15. Which is basically known as the reading and planning time. I suggest students that when you are utilizing the first 15 minutes of your exam paper, don't look at the full exam paper. Just look at the section A only in the first 15 minutes. See what is in section A. Look at the requirements of section A. In the question number 1 and in the question number 2, in like 2 to 3 minutes. See exactly what the examiner is asking upon in that case. Now, Yes, there is no reading and planning time. You have 15 minutes in flexible, Amaduddin. You can still use 15 minutes on your free will, but I would still recommend that the 15 minutes is utilized as a reading and planning time. ACCA has given an option to student if they want to start writing in 15 minutes, they can start writing in 15 minutes. But yes, I would prefer the 15 minutes is not the writing time. The 15 minutes is the reading and planning time still, which is such an important thing to pass P7 paper. Okay, now in the first 2 to 3 minutes, you will be reading the requirements of the section A only. Then after that, you will come back with question 1. And once you know the requirements, now you need to read the question 1. And you need to plan the question 1 in terms of what is to be done. Then the question 2, you need to read the question 2. You need to plan the question 2. Now effectively, you can keep something like 5 to 6 minutes here. And you can keep like 5 minutes here to make up the 15 minutes. Now, you have to be very clear on this, that from 2 to 2:15, that is only a time where you're spending on section A only, and you're reading the requirements of what the examiner is asking in question A. Does question A includes audit risk? Does question A includes the risk of material misstatement? Doesn't question includes something like a business risk? Bilal Qureshi, let me first focus on the agenda. There is an agenda which covers high probable areas for March. I have seen your question, but I'll be responding to your question once I come down with the high probable areas for March 18 exams, which is somewhere between 2 to 4 p.m. today. So please hold your question for that point in time. Okay, now the first 15 minutes, right? Is everyone clear on that? The first 15 minutes needs to be utilized, right? On how you go about reading the section A and exactly knowing what is in section A. Question 2, what is in question 2? You should know that. Is the question 2 on evidence? Is the question 2 on prospective financial information? Is the question 2 on ethical and professional issues? So you should exactly know what the question 2 is. And then you should make a mind very clear that how to go about planning these 2 questions. Now, once you've done that, then the second thing you have in focus. You have the second time, which is from 2:15 to 4. From 2:15 to 4, this is your writing time. This is your writing time for question 1 and question 2. Now see how much time you have. You have like 45 minutes and you have another 60 minutes. So you have 105 minutes. Now in terms of 105 minutes you have from 2:15 to 4, how would you be utilizing this 105 minutes? Then in that case, you should utilize like 60 minutes on the question 1 and a 45 minutes on the question 2. So in 1 hour, you should complete your question 1. So you have to be on toes. Within 1 hour, you complete the question 1, and then within the next 45 minutes, you will complete the question 2. Now you know the question 1, apart from the briefing note, the question 1 is worth 35 marks. The question 2 is worth 25 marks. Ifra, if you don't know the question 2, then you have to attempt question 2. You have no choice. That is a mandatory question. Whether you know it or you don't know it, you still need to do something in that question. You cannot be blank on that question, because if you are leaving the question 2 blank, that is a disaster for you, right? Then you should be planning yourself for the June 18 exams. So if you don't know the question 2, then you should do something anyhow. Whether that is a complete answer or an incomplete answer, do something. But I will not suggest you go to section B. Whatever the time is, spend the time. When the question 2 has 45 minutes, then spend 45 minutes on question 2 and try to do your best in the question 2, whatever you can do if you think you cannot understand what is in question 2. Okay, now from 2:15 to 4, you had a time for section A. Then there is another slot you have, which is from 4 to 4:15. from 4 to 4:15, that is a slot which you have to utilize again for reading and planning. And this time it is the reading and planning time for section B. Now this reading and planning time is very important. Within this reading and planning time, you have to choose which two questions you will be doing. Which two questions will you be doing? Which two questions you will be doing in the 15 minutes, and then plan those questions. So in these 15 minutes, you need to take a choice and you need to take a decision. And then you need to read them and you need to plan them, whichever two questions you have selected. So from 4 to 4:15, you have a reading and planning time, which should be allocated to taking a decision, taking a choice, which question you will be doing, which questions you will be doing, and then coming down with reading and planning time of the two questions you have taken as a choice. Now, which choice questions will you choose depends. If you are good on reporting, we discussed that yesterday, that reporting is rule-based. If you are good on rule-based things, you are very clear with CAM, you're very clear with opinions, you're very clear with emphasis, you are very clear with the format of the report, then obviously I'll prefer that you do a question 5 as a priority. But if your rules are weaker, you don't know the CAM, you don't know the opinions, you are very confused between them, then I will prefer that you don't do the question 5, because ultimately that would be a disaster. Question 3 and 4, then if question 3 and 4 contains ethical and professional issues, and question 3 contains something like evidence, you have to take a decision yourself. If you think you are good on reporting, then reporting is your one question. Then you have to choose 2 out of 3 and 4. But if you think reporting is your weaker question, then you have no choice then. You have to choose 3 and 4. But if anyone gets to the exam hall and he thinks I'm good on 5, then 5 is selected and you have to choose 1 from 3 or 4. But if 5 is bad, then you have no choice. Then you have to do 3 and 4, obviously, whatever there is in 3 and 4. So I think if any student is good on reporting, then only the choice can work. But if any student is bad on reporting, then choice cannot work. So choice can only work when you are good on question 5. Then you have a choice of taking anything from 3 and 4. And obviously you're going down with question 5. I hope that selection of the section B is clear with everyone. Right? Is everyone clear with the choice of questions in section B? So if you're good on reporting, then choose it. If you're not good on reporting, then you have no choice. You have to do 3. You have to do 3 and 4. Right? Okay, moving ahead to that, 4 to 4:15, and then you move ahead and you say, I have my last slot. I have my last slot from 4:15 to 5:15. Now that is a slot which is your writing slot. And this is the writing slot for section B. This is the writing time for section B. Right? You have 2 questions, right? Question 1 you have chosen, question 2 you have chosen in the choice. Now you can spend 30 minutes and you can spend 30 minutes of the writing time here. You have time, right? 4:15 to 5:15, you have 1 hour and you can utilize the 1 hour, half of that to one question, half of that to the next question. And that makes up your 1 hour. And that's exactly the time when the invigilator in the exam hall will say, stop writing, the time is up. So with that approach, you can at least balance your paper. With that approach, you can at least balance your 100 marks. But if you try making your own myths and you start making your own mathematical formula of the time allocation, I believe that will not give you much of the 100 marks. But if you stick to this formula, then obviously, you have to be good in attempting the 100 marks paper if you go down this way. Okay, now the second thing, apart from how to manage the 3 hours within 4 questions, that structure is very effective. Please try ensuring that this structure gets to exam hall and you are planning the structure this way. Now, secondly, when you look at the question 1 in P7, the question 1 includes 4 professional marks. And when you look at these 4 professional marks in question 1, these 4 professional marks is for writing a briefing note. So you have to write a briefing note right in the first question to secure your 4 professional marks. Now, how would you secure your 4 professional marks? These 4 marks are divided into 3 things. 1, 2, 3. There is 1 mark for the format. So if anyone knows the format of the briefing note, you are very secured on these 1 mark. Then there is another 1 mark for the logical flow. The logical flow is very easy, right? The logical flow means A, B, C. So if question 1 has A, if question 1 has B, if question 1 has C, and obviously all the 3 requirements have to be in a briefing note. So when you're writing a briefing note, obviously A will come first, B will come second, and C will come third. So you have to maintain the logical flow of the question ABC. Then you have 2 marks for the persuasiveness of the answer. Now that is very, very important. I believe all of you can take 1 mark on the format and 1 mark on the logical flow, provided you are doing the question in ABC order rather than you're doing a question in CBA order. So if you do the question in order A, B, C, you will take that 1 mark as well. So the logical flow and the format, I think these marks are very much secured. But the marks which is a bit risky is the 2 marks which is allocated to the persuasiveness of the answer. Now I'll guide you just quickly what is the format, and I'll guide you quickly on what is the persuasiveness. I hope you can maintain the logical flow, right? Is everyone clear with the logical flow? A, B, C, that's the order of the requirements. You will go down that way, right? I need to tell you the format so that you know that you're not making any mistakes on the format. And then more importantly, you should know the persuasiveness of the answer, which is such an important phenomena, scoring those 2 marks. Okay, let's go down and let's see the format. I need to tell you what is the persuasiveness, right? Format. Now, when you're writing a briefing note in the exam paper, the format of the briefing note is you write on top briefing note. Then under the briefing note, you write to, from, and because you got an email from the partner, so you will write RE. You are replying to the email, right? So the email which has come from the partner would write in the email, prepare a briefing note. So partner is telling you in the email, prepare a briefing note. So when you are writing a briefing note in reply to an email, you will put a heading briefing note. You will say to, you will say from, and you will say RE. Now obviously this to, from, RE must be given in the email, right? The email you got from the partner. So to means the partner because you're now writing to the partner. From means the manager. That will be given in the case study. And RE. Now, I hope if you've seen the question 1, the question 1 contains the subject. Right? If I just show you the this mock paper you have with you, just to demonstrate one thing. Right, this mock paper, see, you can see this mock paper, it says prepare a briefing note. So that is very clear. We need to write the briefing notes. Right? Now, when you're writing the briefing note, you will put a heading briefing note. And in the briefing note, you need to write to, from, and see the subject. Now, if any one of you have ever replied to an email, when you get an email, there is already a subject. Now, when you reply to an email, you will never change the subject, right? The subject remains the same. You just got an email, so I'll press the reply button and I'll reply to the email. I'll not change the subject line. I've seen so many students, they start changing the subject line when they're writing the email back. Please have sense of how you reply to an email in a professional world. So when you're replying to an email, you never change the subject. I only press the reply button and I start writing the email. So by default, the subject will remain the same. You cannot change the subject. I've seen so many students, they keep changing the subject. So when you're writing a briefing note, what will you do? When you're writing a briefing note, you will write the to, you will write the from, and this subject will remain the same as an email you got from the partner, right? No date is written, right? Asghar Mehdi, no date is written in the briefing note. To, from, RE, and then you write introduction. Introduction is a heading, right? Introduction. Now, introduction is the purpose. Why are you writing this briefing note? Introduction is why are you writing this briefing note? So, why are we writing this briefing note? We are writing this briefing note for what? RE is the subject, Azimul Abad. RE is the subject. When you reply to an email, I hope you've ever drafted a reply to an email in the professional world. You must have got an email from someone. You must have replied to an email, right? So the introduction is, why are you writing this briefing note? So why are we writing this briefing note? We are writing this briefing note for business risk. We are writing this briefing note for risk of material misstatement. And we are writing this briefing note for ethical issues. So we are writing this briefing note for three things, right? So all the three things will go down into the briefing note, that you will write in the briefing note that the purpose of writing the briefing note is to identify the business risk, the risk of material misstatement, and the ethical issue. So all three will go down in your introduction. You will just write, this is my objective. Obviously, it's from the manager, right? From the manager. Farooq Maqsood cannot understand the sense of your question. From, obviously, it's from the manager to the partner. Please see the email you got from the partner. The partner email is to the manager from the partner. So when you write back, obviously you will write back what? From the manager to the partner. So how are you going about this introduction? Introduction is, why are you writing this briefing note, right? The next, after the introduction, what is the first thing you have to do? The first thing you have to do after introduction is that you have to write the business risk. So you will put a heading business risk and you will start writing business risk. Now, how many business risk you need to write? You will see the marks. So you will start writing the business risk. Now, wherever the business risk will end, you will write risk of material misstatement, because that was the second requirement. See, logical flow. Then where you end the risk of material misstatement, you will write the ethical issues. And where you end the ethical issues, you should write a conclusion. Conclusion of what? Conclusion of the whole briefing note? Are you writing conclusion of the whole briefing note? The attendees, are we writing the conclusion of the whole briefing note? Yes or no? Are we writing? No, we are not writing the conclusion of the whole briefing note. We are just writing the conclusion of what? See the requirements. The examiner says evaluate the business risk. Anything which is evaluated needs to have a conclusion. So we will only give conclusion of the business risk, right? any requirement which contains the word evaluate needs a conclusion. So we will give a conclusion of the business risk, not of the ROMM, not of the ethical issues, because the verb of evaluation is with business risk only. So we will give conclusion of what? We will give conclusion of only business risk. Right? Only business risk. A lot of student gives conclusion after writing the business risk, but it seems very odd that you're writing a briefing note and after the business risk there is a conclusion. It seems that as if you've concluded your briefing note. You cannot give conclusions in the center of the briefing note. The conclusion has to come at the end of the briefing note, but that only pertains with the business risk because the examiner was asking us to evaluate the briefing business risk. Is everyone clear with the format? How would you start the format of the briefing note? You will put you will put a heading briefing note, to from RE, then you will write an introduction followed by the requirements. The first requirement was a business risk, the second requirement was ROMM, the third requirement was ethical issues. Muhammad Amir, examiner will not ask anything beside briefing note. This is not a P1 exam, this is a P7 exam, and in P7 exam the only requirement which comes in professional marks is a briefing note. Yes, wherever evaluate is written, whether it is written in question 2, 3, 4, 5, wherever evaluation is written, you have to give a conclusion. Okay, so is everyone clear with the format? So are we losing any marks on now the format of the briefing note and the logical flow? Imran Riaz, I just addressed that if you're writing a briefing note, the conclusion will come at the end of the briefing note, not after the part A. You cannot write the conclusion in the center of the briefing note. The conclusion has to be written at the end of the briefing note, right? Again, that is something very surprising. You reach P7 paper, but you don't have any writing sense of emails. You don't have any writing sense of reporting. You don't have any writing sense of how to write a letter and all such things. Though the P1 paper and the P3 paper is all about it. Okay, so we are not losing any marks on format. We are not losing any marks on the logical flow. Okay, then comes the persuasiveness. Then comes the persuasiveness of the answer. Now, if I go back, persuasiveness of the answer. How many marks I have for persuasiveness of the answer in the briefing note? Persuasiveness of answer. When I am writing the briefing note, how many marks I have? I have 2 marks, right? How will I take 2 marks? I'll take the first mark when I write a conclusion. So if I write a conclusion at the end of the briefing note, out of those 2 marks, I will take 1 mark. So persuasiveness includes the 1 mark of the conclusion. And then the remaining 1 mark is how impressive your answer is. How impressive your answer is. Now that cannot be with everyone, right? That cannot be with everyone. How impressive the answer is. Muhammad Ali, you put a question, time appointments is not looking good. What is that exactly? I cannot understand your question. Time appointments is not looking good. Muhammad Ali. Okay, so you need to give a conclusion, right? Abdul Manan, if the conclusion is even wrong, you are presenting a conclusion, right? That's a part of the format. How can a conclusion be wrong? You're concluding a business risk. So how can a conclusion be wrong? I cannot understand the sense, Abdul Manan. You're just trying to sum up something. So how can a sum up be wrong? Okay, so 1 mark is how impressive your answer is. Now, I think this 1 mark cannot be taken by everyone because not 100% students have impressive answers. That 1 mark is very subjective. How impressive your answer is. Now, your answer cannot be as impressive as a person who tops the worldwide position. Your answer cannot be impressive as a student who takes a Pakistan-wide position. So, impressive is not with everyone, right? Impressive is an inbuilt ability. Impressive is a born ability. Now, anyone who use jargons, anyone who use proper language, anyone who try making a better presentation of the answer, obviously will make an impression. But impression is not an ability which 100% of the students can have. So that is very, very subjective. Right? So is everyone clear with the definition of persuasiveness? How will you take the 2 marks on persuasiveness? The 1 mark is for the conclusion, and the 1 mark is your ability of how impressive your answer is. Now, I think that 1 mark is very questionable. You might get it, you might not get it. Right? So please be very clear on the 4 professional marks. I hope a lot of time the repeaters lose these 4 marks. They are not sure of the format. They try structuring the format themselves. They try doing everything with the format they like to do it. They will write the date. They will write, even if the name of the manager is not given in the question, they will say Mr. XYZ. So, and even the briefing note does not require an address. A lot of students give address in the briefing note. Please, you need to stick to the format. So a lot of time I've seen repeaters, there is no guarantee that the repeaters takes 4 out of 4 from the professional marks. So you need to secure your professional marks, right? 1 mark for the format, 1 mark for the logical flow, and 2 marks for the persuasiveness. Secure your 4 marks. Secure your 4 marks, right? I hope everyone is clear with the 4 marks, right? Okay, good. Okay, let's go back and start the next thing. Okay, so what have we done so far? How to handle a 100 marks paper in 3 hours. I tried giving you a timelines. Okay, how can you utilize the timelines from 2 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time to 5:15 Pakistan Standard Time, which is the time in which the paper is happening. So how would you utilize those 3.15 hours? How to choose optional question? I was very clear on that. How to choose optional questions. Question 5, if you're good on that, choose it. Then you have a better choice from 3 and 4. But if anyone does not know the question 5, you cannot do anything about it. You cannot do anything about it. How to gain 4 marks? I hope everyone is clear on how to gain 4 marks. Right? Now comes few of the final things. And I believe most of the queries coming in front of me and most of the queries coming yesterday and today and over the last 3 days, is money laundering important? I think there is one student, I just forgot the name, Bilal Qureshi, I guess, right? Bilal Ahmed. Is money laundering important? Is money laundering important? That's been like a repetitive question. Though I have been saying from day one that on the final day will be making probabilities. And even I know if I make probabilities, you will still be asking, will this come? Will that come? Will that not come? Even though you had been in that parameter that you were asking me what is probable. Now, even if I do make the probable list, you will still be asking me, what if this comes? What if that comes? So obviously that is your own stories, right? Keep making them and be happy with them then. Okay, let's do one final exercise now on what are important areas. Now, this is a very important discussion I'm doing with the attendees, and I think most of the attendees would be having a very strong enthusiasm to this now. Okay, let's write it properly. What to expect in March 2018 exams. Okay, now we know these tips comes from different institutions, different approved learning providers across the globe. Everyone has their own assumptions and probabilities, and obviously few of the things even do match among many institutions as well. Now, since many years I've been teaching this paper P7 for over 10 years now, I try making my own probabilities every attempt, and the very good thing is that's thanks to God, thanks to Allah, that my probabilities have gone down with like 80-85%. I've never seen my probabilities going under less than 80% in an exam sitting. So I think that experience you have with the paper, you know how to predict it. So in terms of my predictability, let's go down with the assessment. Okay, let's start first. Now we know there are 5 core areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let's go 1. The first core area, risk. Now, if someone asks me what is important in risk this time, I will say at number 1 is the audit. And I expect audit risk this time without a group. Right, audit risk is coming since last many attempts, and I have told you the reason. I do not need to mention my probabilities basis because that basis is with me, and I do the best estimates on these bases. But just to be clear, and just to make my attendees clear who are very skeptical in this matter, let's be very clear on this. The audit risk is coming since last many attempts, but examiner is very critical of audit risk. The examiner believes that the students are not good on audit risk. And wherever the examiner believes you're not good, the examiner will repeat that. So audit risk is high likely to be repeated again. And without group. Group is coming for last 3 attempts now in terms of P7. I think this is a high time the examiner will take a break from group, and the group can come in any other question, but not highly expected in a question on audit risk. Yes, the audit risk question can involve the APs, the analytical procedures. That could be a chance the examiner brings you with analytical procedures in the audit risk question. Okay, now, is there any chance of a business risk? To me, that's big no, considering it came in September 17 exams, and business risks don't repeat that early. I would not suggest business risk is important, but I would still prefer that as your probability number 2, focus on business risk. What does that mean? That means that when you're preparing for 5th March, first focus on audit risk, right? If you have time, then at least practice one question of business risk. You know how to identify that. So you know how to write it. Be on the safe side. But my potential is with audit risk, without group. Business risk, do one question minimum. At least do one question on business risk to be on the safe side. Okay, second, in terms of other assignments. Now, I had been clear on that in my agenda of day 4 even, that in terms of other assignment, there are 2 potential, and both have been discussed in my webinar. One is the PFI, Prospective Financial Information. I expect that strongly to come in March 18 exams. So PFI is a very strong contender for March 18 exams. So I take a very strong emphasis of that. And secondly, forensic. So PFI is important, forensic is important, right? I'll give you some key questions to practice once I complete my 5 columns. So wait for that. Risk, other assignments. Then obviously due diligence and performance information have no chance. I've not discussed that in my webinar even because they came in September and December 17 exams. So I'm not taking any probabilities on them. Then the third thing, in terms of evidence, though we have done the type 1 and the type 2, we have done the type 1 and type 2 questions. Everyone knows that very clearly, right? Everyone is clear with type 1 question and type 2 question, the attendees? Everyone is clear with that? Type 1 and type 2? Right. Okay, now in evidence, I believe type 2 is more important. Type 2 should be my first priority. Type 2 should be my first priority. Nadir Ahmed, You are not good onto business risk? No, Nader Ahmed, my point of putting the business risk, I'm predicting the audit risk and audit risk to come, but on the sideline, the business risk cannot be ignored. So I'm putting it in my second priority. The reason of putting that into the mock paper was that in terms of the mock paper, I just want to ensure that you practice both. So I put the ROMM question in the mock paper so that you practice the audit risk. ROMM and audit risk is the same. And I put the audit risk question, a business risk question, to ensure that you even practice that. So I deliberately put that into the mock paper so that I believe you practice both the sides for March 5th exam. Okay, so for evidence, I'm expecting a type 1 question, right? Type 2 question, sorry. Type 2 question for evidence, which is the sufficiency one, right? And yes, obviously, you should know the type 1, but type 1 should be my second priority. But you should practice both, but emphasize has to come on type 2. Okay, the next. Risk, other assignments, evidence. Then in the last case, you have to practice areas of ethical and professional issues. That is such a important question, ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Obviously, there is no type 1, 2, 3 here. Obviously, you should know ethical, professional, and quality control issues. You need to be strong here. And I hope you remember my webinar, that how you go about ethical issues, professional issues, and the quality control issues. So be good on that question. That question has a chance. Obviously, that is such a fundamental part of a 100 marks question. You cannot rule out that. So be very clear with that perspective. Now, the last case, right? The last case is with reporting. The last case is with reporting. Now, in terms of reporting, what I believe is that I discussed that yesterday, that in terms of reporting, my potential says that CAM is very likely. A question on a listed company is very likely. In terms of the second thing, I was very clear yesterday, something like a critical appraisal can come this time. Critical appraisal of the new report, right? Critically appraise the new report. And you should know the format of the new report. And yes, on the sidelines, you should know the MURGC, material uncertainty relating to going concern. So in terms of reporting, I'm predicting those 3 areas as some very important areas to practice, to be on March 18 exams. Right, is everyone clear on that? March 18? I need to go down now, and I need to go down with some key questions you will be practicing around the all columns. So I hope you will be interested in knowing the questions you will be practicing for each of these topics now. Sharmila Siddiqui, unfortunately, there is no questions on CAM uploaded in ACCA because of the hybrid versions. I tried making my own version, tried sharing that with you, but be clear with concepts. I hope the concepts will work with you. Salahuddin Kadir, what is type 1 and what is type 2? I hope you missed the webinar. Please go with the recordings. The ACCA is uploading the recordings on a daily basis on Vimeo. So please get the recording from Vimeo and listen to my webinar, what is type 1 and what is type 2, right? Okay, let's go down with key questions. What questions will you be practicing for risk, other assignments, evidence, ethical professional issues, and reporting, preparing yourself very effectively for the March 18 exams, right? Okay, let's take that step now. Okay, the next one. Key questions to practice. Is everyone interested to know that? Key questions? Is everyone interested to know the key questions? Okay, so that's good. Okay, good. I'm just going down with the key questions, right? Just a minute, just a minute. I'm writing the key questions to practice. Just give me 30 to 40. Okay, now in terms of the first topic, which was to discuss risk, audit risk. Okay, I'll prefer that for audit risk, you do June 13, question 1. And for the audit risk, you do December 15, question 1. I hope both these questions will give you the glimpse of how a risk question changes in terms of the case study. Yes, audit risk in ROMM is the same, Asim Iqbal. Then in terms of secondary topic, business risk. Okay, business risk was your second priority, right? So in terms of your second priority, number 2, what questions will you be practicing on this? You should practice questions December 12, question number 1, and you should practice December 17, which is the most recent paper uploaded, question number 1. It contains business risk. If you want to practice better. If you just want to do one question on business risk, then do December 17, right? If you want to do one question, then do December 17. Only one. Right? Okay, then next. The next in order was PFI, Prospective Financial Information. For PFI, you will practice a question which was June 12, question 1. Sorry, June 12, question 2. June 12, question 2. And you will also do the December 16 we did in the webinar. December 16, question 3. Okay, for forensic, I'll prefer you do the December 12, question 4C. You do the December 12, question 4C, and you do the June 13, question 2B. That would be enough for forensic. Right? Then, the next one was the evidence. Now, in terms of evidence, I would suggest that you will do the type 2, that is December 16, question number 3. Yes, Tala Shahid, the group audit risk came in December 17. I'm predicting audit risk to come back again without a group this time. December 16, question 3, right, for evidence type 2. Plus, you will also do the question which is in mock, which is basically December 12, question number 2. This is both these questions are type 2, right? December 16, no, I'm making a mistake, right? It's not December 16, question 2. It has to be December 16, question 2. This question, right? This question has to be question 2, right? Question 2 of December 16 exams, and then the December 12 question 2, right? Which is in the mock paper. And if you want to do the type 1, then for type 1, you can do December 14, question 1. That would be sufficient, right, for the type 1 addressing. At least you know how to do type 1 question, right? Okay. Has everyone taken the notes? I just need to put the questions for reporting. I need to go on to the next slide. Tala Shahid, that is the hybrid paper. ACCA has to choose one paper to upload from September or December when they're making a December uploading. So they choose the September question one to be uploaded in the hybrid paper, right? So the December 17 uploaded paper does not contain what you have given in December 17. It contains what came in September 17, right? Okay. Can I proceed for reporting questions now? Okay. Now, what questions you will practice for reporting? Now, in terms of practicing CAM, because CAM is very important. So CAM, only the question you had on the webinar yesterday, because there is no question from the past paper. So only the webinar question we did yesterday. I hope all of you have the question. To know the CAM, and please know the rules of CAMs, right? Yes, I'm coming to ethics, right? I'm coming to ethics. In terms of critical appraisal, critically appraise, you will do two questions in terms of the critical appraisal. For critical appraisal, you will do the question 5 of June 14 exams. Critical appraisal, right? And you will do another question on critical appraisal, which is in the December 15 exams. Question number 5. You will do these two questions for critical appraisal, right? And then in terms of MURGC, even though the question has not yet been uploaded on MURGC, but you can still do a very good question on this from the past paper, which is the question, I think, December 13, question number 5. Question number 5 of December 13 would give you a very clear idea on MURGC, material uncertainty relating to going concern. Right, so that is for reporting, right? Yes, you can use the BPP kit for finding any more questions on CAM, or you can use the Kaplan revision kit for finding more questions on CAM. If you have any access to that, fine, that is good enough. So is everyone clear with reporting questions? Okay, let's find the last answer now. Ethical. What questions should we go with on the side of ethics? Now, in terms of the questions which comes on ethical and professional issues, which questions will you be practicing on ethical and professional issues is very important, right? You will do a question on ethical and professional issues, which is question number 4 of December 16 exams. You will also do a question 3 of the June 17 exams. And further, you will also do the question 4B of the June 16 exams. Right, so I think those 3 and the rest you can choose yourself, but I'll at least recommend these 3 to be done. Right? Yes, this is not more than enough. At least this is your first priority. Make a schedule, start from tomorrow. Make a schedule, start from tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 18th of Feb. Make a schedule. See if you can do this in the next 1 week. Over the next 1 week, if you can do them and you can gain confidence, then try finding more questions from the past papers. Even the questions are given on my each day of webinar as home assignments. You can make use of those home assignments as well. So I think that is fine enough. Aga Hamza, yes, I'm coming down to the articles. Wait for 5 minutes. I'll just respond how to go about articles. June 17 question 3 should be done as per NOCLA. June 17 question 3 should be done as per NOCLA. Yes, Aga Hamza, perfect. That should be done as per NOCLA. Right? So is everyone clear with the key questions to practice? Right? Okay. Now just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I am putting something in front of you because I need to discuss the articles you will be reading in your priority for March 18 exams, right? Just 2 minutes. Okay, if you can see these technical articles in front of you, I've just opened the ACCA global website where you have the P7 technical articles, something which is so valuable resource when you're preparing for March 18 exams. Let's see from these articles, is there something you should go about and something you should do? Okay, the first two articles, right, is just about exam techniques, how you should do a question on ethics. I've discussed these I have discussed these exam techniques with you, right? So I would not prefer that you go down with these particular exam techniques. But the exam techniques for risk, I've even done that with you, so I'll not prefer you go down reading with that. So leave aside the first two articles. Come down with evaluation of misstatement. I would like that you read the evaluation misstatement, even though it has been examined in the last attempt. In reporting, because this article relates with reporting. This article relates with reporting, and this has already been examined in the prior attempt. That was December 17. So I would not give any weightage in terms of reoccurring, but because it's a very recent article, so I cannot take a risk of saying no, don't read it. So evaluation of misstatement, please do read it. Then there is another article which says NOCLER, responding to non-compliance with laws and regulations. Please do read this article, responding to non-compliance with laws and regulations. I'll prefer must read of this article, even though it has come for few marks in September 17, but you should know a better idea. Then I think the article after that is CAM. Yesterday I recommended you to read the CAM article, corporate governance and its impact on audit practice. I'll prefer go down with that as well. Corporate governance, I think that after this article, corporate governance, the only question which came was in December 16 exams, question number 5A. So since I'll be going back on my PowerPoint to write it properly, but I'll give weightage to the corporate governance article, right? I hope all of you can see that corporate governance article. A question on that has come in December 16. I'll prefer you go down with that. The new report, I recommended that. Auditing disclosures and financial statements, I'll be giving weight to that. as well. Auditing disclosures in financial statements. I will give weight to that. You should know how the auditor gathers evidence on disclosures, or how the auditor make procedures on disclosures. So I'll give weightage to that. Okay, so now to me, if I look for key articles now from the website, key articles. I have recommended you some articles, right, on a daily basis in webinar. I hope you know that. Apart from that, what should be your key articles emphasis? I would prefer that in terms of your key article, your first priority should be that you read the article on nuclear, and you should know the key points from the article, right? Secondly, you should know the article which is corporate governance. And corporate governance, the question has come in December 16, question 5A. Corporate governance, if any one of you have given the P1 exams, I think that's maximization of corporate governance, but still you should revise corporate governance in context of the audit committee in P7, right? You should know the audit committee in P7. You should know the role of the audit committee in P7. And already a question has come on that in December 16, question number 5A. So please do read the article. Try to find out the main points from the article, right? Number third, the article I would recommend that you should be reading is the auditing disclosure article. Auditing disclosures. You should know the main points from this article. You should know how the auditor audit disclosures. You should know the main point, how the auditor audits disclosures, right? And I'm not putting evaluation of a statement. If I do put, I'll put it at number 4th because it has just come in the last name. Evaluation of misstatement, right? It's up to you. Evaluation of misstatement. It's up to you. It has come in the last exam sitting. A complete question, right? So I'll give that as my 4th priority. I'll not give that as my first priority to read. Is that clear with the list of articles you should be going down with? Please do read Nokla, make notes. You have assign one day to one article. Suppose you, the articles I recommended yesterday, I have recommended, right? I've recommended an article on CAM. I've recommended the article on the new report. Obviously that is there. But apart from the one which I have recommended in the webinar, these are extra articles which you should be reading. Arif Ali, I just shown you the website of ACCA. The NOCLER is the non-compliance with laws and regulation. That is an article basically. Asim Iqbal, yes, evaluation of misstatement is ISA 450. That is perfectly right. Okay, is that clear with the list of key articles, the attendees? Are you getting a clear picture of how would you be making your revision timetables now? Perfect. So do you know what you should be doing over the next 1 week now? Right? You should have a proper plan for next 1 week, and you should know exactly what you should be doing in context of the time you have. You have good enough time. I think you have more than 2 weeks before your exam starts on the 5th of March. So you can utilize days and go ahead with that, right? Okay. I just want to do a quick go through of this mock paper because over the day from Monday to Friday, we learned so many things which I want now to be applied. So I'll just read some of the parts. I just want to give you some sense of how you increase your scoring potentials of scoring 50 marks in P7. Okay, let me do one thing. Okay, now I want to show you exactly how would you be reading and planning your questions, right? Right, suppose this is a question in front of you, which is the mock question, and a question like such comes in front of you on the 5th of March. The very first thing, when you're reading the first question, first underline the word briefing note so that you know you need to write a briefing note. And then right here, then with the briefing note, write 4 marks. Now, everyone knows how to get 4 marks, right? So Maya Hassan, this is exactly what I'm doing, the opportunity to get 50. This exercise will wind up the opportunity to get 50. How can you get 50 from 100 marks paper? Okay, so first when you're reading a case, underline, prepare briefing note and make 4 marks for that, and you know how you will take the 4 marks, right? Second, then see the requirements. See, this says evaluate, this says identify and explain, this says discuss, and this says recommend. Now, I know what is to be done. See, how would I plan if I am attempting P7? I'll say, okay, evaluate the business risk. I'll think in the exam paper, evaluate means I have to give a conclusion. Okay, one thing. Then I have 12 marks. I'll say, okay, let's divide that by 2. I need to write 6 business risk. Okay, perfect. Identify and explain 4 risk of material misstatement. How many risk of material misstatement I need to identify? 4. Okay, so that means 8 marks. Every risk is multiplied by 2. Okay, perfect. Then I need to identify the ethical issues and recommend actions. I hope you remember my webinar. Ethical issues, the moment I see this word ethical issue, I'll say, okay, 1.5 marks per ethical issue. I hope you remember the marking scheme. And I'll say recommend the action, 1 mark for action. So I have 8 marks. If I write an issue, I'll take 1.5 marks. If I write an action, I'll take 1. So I can utilize my 8 marks. Right? See how you should be writing on your question paper when you have the first 15 minutes. See what I did. I first underline the verbs, then I utilize my marks. Now see, if I am writing an answer, I know I have to write 6 business risk. I know I need to write 4 risk of material misstatements, and I know I need to write ethical issues, where every ethical issue will give me 1.5 marks and every action will give me 1. And all of you know the security of the 4 marks here, right? So does that make a structure clear before I start writing an answer? This exercise right in front of you, will that make any difference? How to go about it? Please, I think that was day 3 of the webinar where I emphasized upon planning, right? So plan the question. The planning of the question leads to such a good execution. We lack in execution. Please plan and execute. That is so very important, right? Okay, let's go down now. Now, obviously, once you know what is to be done, you will read the case, you will find the business risk, you will find the risk of material misstatement, you will find the ethical issues, right? And you will make a briefing note. How much time you have for this whole question now? How much time you have for this whole question? What I told you? Yes, I told you 60 minutes, right? So how much time you have for this whole first question now? This whole first question, you have 60 minutes. Right? Okay, 1 hour. Perfect. Okay, then you go down. See, this question has a B mark, has a B requirement. This question has a B requirement, right? It says, comment on the matters that should be considered. What will I write in the matters? Comment on the matters that should be considered. Comment on the matters that should be considered. What should I write? MTR. Perfect. I would write MTR. How many marks will I get out of the 8? 3. Perfect. And then the examiner says, recommend the audit procedures in terms of the insurance claim. How many audit procedures will I write? 5. Perfect, perfect. 5 procedures. And how would I write the audit procedures? Anyone remembers the mnemonic I've given you for audit procedures yesterday? Perfect, Muhammad Umar, CVRM, perfect, Faima Bilal, perfect, Sharmila Siddiqui, Aksa, Zahid, perfect. So that means you're revising my webinar. That's so good. Okay, how many audit procedures will you be writing? 5, CVRM. So can you secure your 8 marks? So is this MTR and CVRM and the brainstorming I did with you on day 3 and day 4 is helping you now with the planning of the requirements? Is planning of requirements very important? Are you sensing the planning of the requirement can boost your marks? Because that is my objective. Planning of requirements will boost your marks. Planning of requirements will boost your marks. Yes. I hope you are getting my point. You're getting the sense. You're getting the sense. Whatever questions you're practicing before the 5th of March, do this at home. Do this at home. Because when you do this at home, you will become so good onto this, and you will be leading to such a better execution of answers. Okay, let's read the next question. Section B. Oh, sorry, question 2, sorry. Okay, question 2. See what the question 2 is asking. This is the question I recommended for the type 2, right? The questions you just noted, this was the question which was recommended with the type 2. I'll make the requirements clear to you, then attempting the question will become so easier for you, right? See the first 4 marks. Explain why the auditor may need to reassess the materiality as the audit progresses. Is that question testing your knowledge? Why the auditor should reassess the materiality as the audit progresses? Is that a very natural question? And how many why should I tell examiner? I should tell examiner 2 why. And 2 why will give me these 4 marks. So I'll tell examiner why should the materiality level be changed in the audit. I need to give 2 why, right? So I think this is a K factor. K means knowledge, right? This is a knowledge factor. Okay, let's go down. Now, please critically see these 18 marks. You have to do this question as a must to attempt question for 5th of March. This is a type 2 evidence. This is a type 2 evidence, and I've given you that in my key questions just now. I've given you this in my key questions to practice for type 2. So please see this question very carefully. I'm trying to make things clear, and then you proceed with that. Okay, see what the question is asking. Assess the implication. Assess the implication of the key audit findings. Assess the implication of the key audit findings for the completion of the audit. Now, obviously, the key audit findings are given in the question. The examiner is saying, assess the implication of the key audit findings. Now, how you should assess the implication, the examiner is giving you the answer after. See what is the examiner saying? The examiner is saying, your assessment must consider whether the key audit finding indicates a risk of material misstatement. So when I'm looking at the key audit findings, will I consider whether the key audit finding indicates a risk of material misstatement? And if the key audit finding relates with risk, so I will tell examiner what's the risk of material misstatement? Right? Exactly MTR. So I need to tell examiner if the finding indicates, your assessment must consider whether the finding indicates a risk of material misstatement. So if it indicates a risk of material misstatement, I should ठीक है, I should focus on the MTR. And secondly, it says where the key audit finding refers to audit evidence, you must consider the adequacy of the evidence obtained, but you need not to recommend further procedures. See how good this question is. It is saying that the key audit findings given tell the examiner whether the key audit finding has a risk. If you think the key audit finding has a risk, then tell examiner what's the risk, right? And if you think the key audit finding is in relevance to evidence, then tell examiner, is the evidence adequate or not? Is the evidence adequate or not? And you know how you judge adequacy of evidence. But the examiner is saying, but you do not need to recommend procedures. Right, Ifra, the materiality has never a separate marks allocation. It's part of your 2 marks. Every finding has 2 marks, and within the 2 marks, the 0.5 marks is for the materiality. You will never see examiner saying 0.5 marks separately in the marking scheme, but when you read the examiner report, the examiner tells in the examiner report that 0.5 marks is for materiality within the 2 marks, which is for every finding. Right? Is everyone getting clear with what exactly the examiner is trying to ask for 18 marks? So how many things we have to do for 18 marks? We need to find risk, and we also need to comment on the adequacy of evidence. Right? Okay, now go down and see what is happening here. When you go down, can you see these key audit findings? Key audit findings coming here. Key audit findings. See how many? One finding, 2 findings, and you go to the next page. You find 3 findings, 4 findings, and you go down. You will find the findings for the balance sheet. See how many findings are coming here? 5 findings, 6 findings, 7, 8, 9. You have 9 findings. And see your marks, 18. And how many findings? 9. If I attack every finding, that means every finding can give me 2 marks. Is everyone becoming clear with that? Sometime the marking scheme is very common sense in exam paper. See, this is a very common sense marking scheme. How many findings we have? 9. And every finding, if from every finding I found either a risk or a evidence, I will take my marks to 18. Right? Okay, let's do an example with you. See this finding number 9. Let's solve 1 and 2 with you so that you have an idea. See the finding number 9. It says a loan of $8 million was taken in October 11. A loan of $8 million was taken in October 11, carrying an interest rate of 2% payable annually in arrears. The term of the loan have been confirmed to the documentation provided by the bank. Is that adequate evidence that I only confirmed the terms of the loan provided by the documentation to the bank? Is that adequate evidence? No. Yes, good answers. All no are the good answers, right? So what I did, the term of the loan was agreed to the bank statement. So is that inadequate? Can I tell examiner the procedures of loan here? No, because the examiner was saying you should not write procedures. Right? You should not write procedures. So is everyone clear that the terms of the loan have been confirmed to the documentation provided by the bank itself is inadequate, because that is just very, very few evidence. That is very less evidence, right? Okay. Now, if I write on the inadequacy of evidence, this inadequacy of evidence is also giving me 2 marks. Sorry, the inadequacy of evidence is giving me not 2 marks, because I told you that these inadequacies, when you comment on the adequacies and inadequacies, they give you 1 mark, right? So you will get one mark for that, not 1.51. Comment on the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence. I hope you remember the marking scheme. That was 1 mark, right? Okay. So a loan of $8 million was taken in October 11, carrying the interest rate of 2% payable annually in arrears. Now, can I find the materiality of the loan? M. Can I find the M of the loan? $8 million, right? So I'll divide the $8 million with the total assets, whatever the total assets are, right? Is everyone clear with that? $8 million divided by the total assets is equal to the materiality. Okay, then I have to write the treatment. A loan was taken out in October 11, carrying an interest rate of 2% payable annually in arrears. See if you can have common sense. This company has a year ending June. Okay, this company has an year ending June, right? So how many months of finance cost will I calculate here? It carries an interest rate of 2% payable annually in arrears. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 9 months. Find out the answer, 9 months. Find out the answer, 9 months. Yes, Kamran Nazir, that can also be done. Fine, agree. 9 months of the finance cost is how much? Anyone has taken the amount? Okay, 0.12. Okay. The finance cost for 9 months is $120,000. $120,000 is the finance cost for 9 months. 9 over 12 into 2%, right? And into $8 million. So is everyone getting that answer? $120,000 is the finance cost for 9 months from October to June. Okay, now let's see what's the risk. When I go to the income statement, see the income statement. The income statement shows you the finance cost. And see how much finance cost has increased from the last year. How much finance cost has increased from the last year? 40. How much it should have increased by? How much it should have increased by? 120. Okay. The finance cost has only increased by 40, whereas it should have increased by 120. So can I say finance cost is understated? Finance cost is understated by 80. Is everyone getting my point? Is everyone getting my point? Yes. Okay. So is there a risk that the finance cost is understated? And have I found the materiality? So risk will give me how many marks? Augustine, the 120 Augustine has come from here. 120 has come from here. See, the loan is from October 2011 and the year end of the company is June. So from October to June, that is 9 months. The loan carries 2% interest rate and the principal amount is 8 million. So we utilize the 8 million multiplied by 2% into 9 months divided by 12. How many marks the risk will carry? No, risk carries 2 marks, right? Risk, not the impact, the risk in journal, right? The risk in journal. Audit risk, business risk, risk of material misstatement. How many marks they have in journal? 2, right? So how many marks am I taking from the finding number 9? The finding number 9 is giving me how many marks now? Fahim Ahmed, from where are you getting 3.5 marks? To comment on the sufficiency and adequacy of the evidence, I will take 1 mark. And to comment on the risk, I will take 2 marks. So finding number 9 is giving me 3 marks. Only 2 to 3 students are giving me the right answer. How many marks am I taking for risk? 2. How many marks am I taking for adequacy of evidence? 1. So how many marks in total? 3. Yes, now you've started giving me the right answer. So for every risk, I have 2 marks. And for every adequacy, I have 1, 3. So now can you take your 18 marks? You know exactly what is to be done on the findings. If you think the finding has a risk, then you will take 2 marks. If you think the finding has a adequacy, then you will take 1 mark. So now you know how to take these 18 marks from here. Right? This is a very tricky question. Please do it. Please do it. Because in every finding, either you will find something about the adequacy, or in a finding, you will find something about the risk, or in one finding, you can find both. Right? So what is my point of view? Because this is an important question. Just want to emphasize one thing very quickly. Key audit finding. Right? There could be a finding which relates with risk. If a finding relates with risk, how many marks will I get? 2. And if a finding relates with evidence, how many marks will I get? 1. So if the finding has a risk, I'll take 2 marks. If the finding have an evidence, I'll take 1 mark. Now, how many marks you have to score? Your total is 18. Try solving this question. For every risk, you take 2 minus the 2 from 18. For every evidence, you take 1 minus the 1 from 18. And you make up your 18 marks answer. This is a very important question. This test, what we exactly did in the webinar of evidence, type 2, sufficiency and evidence. Kindly give me some examples of adequacy of the loan, can also be checked through. Azimul Abad, we need not to make procedures, but apart from that, if you are checking the adequacy, it's not just the loan agreement. If I want to check the adequacy, I should have seen how the loan is classified in the financial statement. If I need to check the adequacy, I should have even recalculated the finance cost. There could have been a lot of things the auditor should have done. The auditor didn't recalculate the finance cost. The auditor even didn't see the classification of the loan in the financial statement. Yes, Ifra, we can say the evidence is not sufficient and appropriate. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Is everyone becoming clear with this question you have in the mock exam? And is everyone clear exactly what you would need to do with it? So is reading the requirement of the question very important before you attack on it? Okay, perfect. Back to the mock. Okay, now I'm going down with the mock exam. Okay, now again, this is a very journal question which has been in the past paper. It says, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a joint audit. 6 marks. How many advantages and disadvantages will I write? 6 marks. 3. Good. I'll write 3 only. I can write 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage. I can write 2 disadvantage and 1 advantage. Not 3. Not 3. I need to write 3 in total. It could be 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage. It could be 2 disadvantage and 1 advantage, right? But in total, I need to write 3. Right? Is everyone clear with how many advantages and disadvantages in total to write? 3. Okay. Next. Okay, then see this question. Identify and explain the specific matters to be included in the tender document for the plant group. Anyone knows how many specific matters are there to be included in the tender document? Anyone has an idea how many specific matters are there to be included in the tender document? Queen Mary, every advantage carry 2 marks, every disadvantage carries 2 marks, right? So for a 6 marks answer, I'll divide that by 2. So that means that in total I need to write 3, whether they are disadvantages or advantages. Okay. Anyone has this knowledge, specific matters for tender documents? The specific matters are 4, right? You can take this knowledge from your book. I didn't address this in webinar because this is not an important topic for the exams in March 18, but tender document has 4 matters, so you have 8 marks, so you know how much marks to be taken. That's 2 marks per matter, 2 marks per matter. Right, those of you who know this answer, perfect. Those of you who don't know the answer, don't worry about it. I'm not predicting this as something important for the March exams, but if you want to find the answer, you can find the answer coming from the book. Okay, moving down. Comment on the ethical and professional issues. Are you all familiar with this? 8 marks. So 8 divided by how much? 8 divided by 1.5. Perfect. So 8 divided by 1.5. How many ethical and professional issues in total will I be writing? How many ethical issues will I be writing? Ethical and professional issues will I be writing? 5. 5 max. 5 max. So I need to find the ethical and professional issues, right? I need to find ethical and professional issues from 1 and 2, and I need to know the marking scheme. So I need to know how many to find in exam paper. So I cannot write 7, 8, 9, 10, waste of time, right? Is everyone clear with the breakup of these marks here? Okay, next. Question 4. See a question like such. It says, revenue recognition should always be approached as a high-risk area of audit. Discuss the statement. 6 marks. Is this knowledge marks? Discuss the statement. Is this knowledge marks? Yes. So how many discussions will I do? How many discussions? How many discussions will I do? Yes, perfect. 3. 3 discussions. 3 multiplied by 2. I'll get my 6. Not 1.5 marks per discussion. Every topic, the knowledge topics have 2 marks. Advantages, disadvantages. Knowledge areas have 2 marks, right? Not 1.5 marks per discussion. Okay, then you go down. See this. Comment on the matters that should be considered and explain the evidence you should expect to find in the working paper. Now you know this question. Comment on the matters. How many marks will I take? Comment on the matters. M, T, R, and I'll take 3. 3 out of the 6. How many evidence should I write? 3. And you know evidence starts with copy, extracts, results. So can you handle this question 6 marks? Okay, perfect. Go down. Okay, this is a question you had for assignment, you had for practice even, forensic. Recommend the procedures used in forensic investigation. We were doing that on the 4th day to quantify the amount. I hope you remember the procedures on forensic, right? Recommend the procedures that should be used in forensic investigation to quantify the amount of fraud. How many procedures should I write? How many procedures? 4 marks. How many procedures would I write? 4. Should I use the mnemonic CVRM? Yes. So C is the case, C is the case. We is the verb. R is the reason. And how many marks I have? I have 4 marks. So how many marks, how many procedures will I write? 4 procedures. Okay, is that clear with everyone? Okay, good. Last. The last question, 5th. Reporting. Okay, the examiner is saying comment on the actions. How many marks action carries in P7? How many marks action carries in P7? 1. Perfect. Action carries 1 mark. Action, procedure, evidence. Action, procedure, evidence. They all carry 1 mark. They all carry 1 mark, right? So action, 1 mark. Comment on the action that should be taken. And implication for the report. Implication for the report. See, whenever you are writing an implication for report, what should you think about? There is a very good rule of thumb I'll be sharing with you in 1 minute. What is the implication for report? Whenever the examiner says, what is the implication for report? What you should think about? Is I have a mnemonic for that even. Whenever the examiner says, what is the implication for the report? The mnemonic is ISO. Implication for report, the mnemonic is ISO. I has 1 mark, S has 1 mark, O has 1 mark. So out of the 7 marks, implication for report will take how many marks? 3. Okay, ISO has 3 marks. So out of the 7, I take in 3. So how many actions will I be writing now? How many actions will I be writing now? 4. Are you getting some sense? Okay, now should I tell you what ISO is? Because if you get an exam paper which says impact on report, should you know the ISO? Okay, let's do it then. Perfect. Okay, so a lot of mnemonics, right? You have learned from this webinar. Is everyone liking those mnemonics? Is everyone finding those mnemonics effective for exam paper? Are you liking those mnemonics? Are you finding those mnemonics very good for your exam practice? Okay, let's do it. When the examiner asks you impact on report, impact or implication, right? It's one of the same thing. Impact on report or implication on report. This is a very frequent question in question number 5, right? Question number 5 do ask for this. So if in a question 5, if the examiner asks you what is an impact on report, or what is the implication on report, then you should first, when you are writing the implication, you should first write the I. I means the issue. Now, I told you yesterday, the issue can be 2. Either the financial statements are misstated, or the issue can be the auditor is unable to obtain evidence. Agree? Everyone agrees with those issues? Either the issue is the financial statements are misstated, or the issue is auditor is unable to obtain evidence. Issue, scale. How many scales are there? Either it is material or it is pervasive. Remember that yesterday? Either it is material or it is pervasive. Right? So should I tell examiner that the issue in the case, is it material, is it pervasive? Right? And once I know the scale and once I know the issue, can I conclude on the opinion? Right? So is ISO important when the examiner says, what's the impact on report? Suppose I have seen so many students, when the examiner says impact on report, the student says a qualified opinion, full stop. Will you get 3 marks for just writing a qualified opinion? Will you just say the auditor will issue a qualified opinion, full stop, 3 marks? No. To get 3 marks, you should first explain the issue. You should first explain the issue, then you should define the scale. Then you should define the scale. And once you define the scale, then tell examiner what is the right opinion. Then the examiner will say, okay, now I give you 3 marks. How good this mnemonic is? How good this mnemonic is? Okay, let's do one thing very, very fine. See this. Suppose in the exam, the issue is unable to obtain evidence. Auditor is unable to obtain evidence. Okay, that's written in the case, for example, right? Auditor is unable to obtain evidence on inventory. Right? Auditor is unable to obtain evidence on inventory, right? Auditor is unable to obtain. Okay, if the auditor is unable to obtain evidence on inventory, then that is the issue. Then you need to find its scale. Scale of the inventory. You will find inventory and you will find that is this inventory material, is this inventory pervasive? And once knowing that, you will come down with your opinion. You will say, okay, if the inventory is material and you were unable to obtain evidence, then if it is material, what opinion should I give? Qualified. And if it is pervasive, what opinion should I give? No, unable to obtain evidence. Unable to obtain evidence. If it is pervasive, I will give disclaimer. Right, perfect. Disclaimer is important. Okay, so is this ISO becoming important to everyone? And is that something you can be utilizing in exam paper very, very effectively? Is that clear with everyone? Right, is that clear with everyone? Question. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, now let's go to the winding up, right? The final 15 minutes we have. Let's find the final equation now. Okay, when the examiner says comment on the action, right? You have 1 mark per action and the implication for the report. Implication for the report. How many marks the implication for report will carry? 3. Okay, so now you know how to take these 7 marks. Okay, good. Next. Then the examiner says, discuss the quality control procedures that should be carried out by the firm. Quality control procedures. How many marks? 3. How many procedures will I write? How many procedures will I write? Okay, 3. See, you're getting sense now. Very, very good. It's really, really good, right? How things have changed from day 1 to day 6 now. And you're giving me so clear answers now. You know the marks, you know how marks needs to be allocated, you know the requirements, and things are refining, right? Most of the answers are coming correct. Not most, 100% of the answers are coming correct, which is so very good that you're understanding how things are linked in. Okay, let's do one final thing now. The last thing. Assess the matters that should be considered in forming a conclusion on the interim financial statement and the implication for the report. Now, implication for the report, you know how to write the implication for report? ISO, implication is ISO. So from the 6 marks, how many marks will I take? 3. Perfect. So how many marks will I left with? 3. Assess the methods. So how many methods will I need to write? Methods. Right? Assess the methods. Assess the methods. Now the method means M, T, R. Right? The M and I will repeat. The M and the M and S will repeat. That's the nature of the question, right? So when you write the M, you know the S. When you write the M, you know the S. Right? So everyone knows assess the methods means MTR. Everyone knows assess the matter means MTR, right? And the implication for the report means ISO. Okay, now give me one final answer. I need to do something very, very important in the last 15 minutes I have. Give me one answer. You just saw a 100 marks paper in front of you, which I read with you from start to end. And if I know the marking scheme and if I know what I should write when the examiner says methods, when the examiner says implication for report, when the examiner says procedures, when the examiner says audit evidence, when the examiner says evaluate the business risk, evaluate the risk of material misstatement, will that increase my opportunities towards a 50 plus score in P7? Okay, I'm asking the broad attendees now, which is in the session today. Will that increase your opportunities to 50 plus once you know what I've just done with you on this 100 marks mock paper? Will you exactly do the same on the day of your exam? Will you do exactly the same on the day of your exams? Will that give you benefits? Will that give you benefits? Right? Okay. Thanks for your participation. Thanks for your participation. My purpose was to provide you an effective way of preparing P7, which I tried to the best of my ability from Monday to Saturday today to deliver what can help you in passing the P7 paper. The diversity of the audience from different parts of the world, it was very important to concentrate on your queries. It was very important to concentrate how I should go about handling the diversity of the first attempt P7 students and the repeaters to P7. And I believe from Monday to Saturday, you must have learned something very important for P7, which would really will really bring down things very effectively for you in the session, right? I hope this would all help you down. This would all help you down in the upcoming exams. I hope all of you are satisfied with the session. I hope all of you are satisfied with the session, right? From Monday to Saturday, if you have missed anything, obviously those videos will be available on the Vimeo, and you can then get hold of those videos. You will get hold of those videos, and you will try to utilize those videos to better prepare yourself. Okay, the last 15 minutes or so, I need to do one very important exercise with you, and I'll keep taking your feedback, right, across this next 15 minutes. And I'll like your feedbacks coming on the chat window. Please keep posting your feedbacks on how you will rate this session and how you like this session. And again, you need not just to appreciate me, you need to appreciate the ACCA Pakistan effort in organizing these webinars, which is such an important decision the ACCA has taken for students' betterment and for helping them pass the ACCA exams. You need to appreciate not just the tutor, you need to appreciate the ACCA Pakistan effort for organizing these wonderful webinars for students and student success in exam paper. Okay. Final final 10 minutes. Now, see what is to be done. If the examiner asks you write methods, right? Now, the methods can be on so many things in P7, right? The methods can be on evidence, in a question on evidence, right? You've seen the type 1, right? Comment on the matters and explain the evidence. The matters can be on an accounting treatment, right? The matters can come in a reporting question. You just saw that in a reporting question, you saw that word matter, right? And then wherever you see this word matter, the matter has the term M plus T plus R, right? And it carries 3 marks. But please, the matter has to link with treatment. If the examiner would ask you write matters for theft, will you use the MTR? If the examiner asks you to write matters for theft, will you use MTR? No. If the examiner asks you to write matters for insurance claim, will you use MTR? No. If the examiner asks you to write matters before accepting engagement, will you use MTR? Before accepting engagement? No. When the examiner asks you to write matters in agreeing the terms of engagement, will you use MTR? No. When only will you use the MTR? When there is an accounting treatment, when there is an accounting issue, and you think, I need to address the accounting issue, so you will first find the M, then you will find the T, then you will find the R. That's only down with accounting treatments. Then the next thing, when you are writing procedures in P7, when you are writing evidence in P7, when you are writing actions in P7, procedures, evidence, actions, all of them carries 1 mark. Is that true? All of them carries 1 mark. All of them carries 1 mark. So can you remember the marking scheme for 1 mark in P7? Right? Okay, so procedures, evidence, actions, right? They are common areas where you score 1. They're common areas where you score 1. Okay, another thing. Questions on risk, whether the question is on business risk, or the question is on audit risk, or the question is on risk of material misstatement, they have the same marking scheme, that is 2 marks per risk, right? Is that clear? Okay, the next thing. Then we have to be very specific. Let's make a round and let's see the final version of this webinar now. It is important that you know the marking scheme. Will marking scheme contribute to your success in P7? Yes. Okay. Will the case link help you in passing P7? Whether you need to absorb the case, will that help you pass the P7? Yes. Will you write generic answers? No. Will you write specific to case answer? Yes. Okay. Marks case. Then will you be knowing these mnemonics like MTR, mnemonics like CVRM, mnemonics like ISO, etc.? Will that help you in the exam paper somewhere? Yes. Okay. Will you know the briefing note and how to write it down for exam paper? And will you take your 4 marks from there? Okay. Should you know the important areas you have for March 18 exams? And should you know the list of the questions you should practice? List of questions you will practice for March 18 exams. Right? Now, I just need to be on the winding up. I need to utilize these 5 minutes just talking to you, just increasing your motivation for passing the P7 paper. Now, first of all, it was very wonderful to be part of this webinar and to interact with all of you over the 6 days from Monday to Saturday. It was a great opportunity to interact with diversified sets of students from across the world, whether they were from Asia, Africa, they were from Middle East, Far East. That was really, really good to see all of you within this webinar. Secondly, it was so very important to keep this webinar down to very, very important techniques to P7. Now, teaching this paper for over 10 years, I had to utilize this 15 minutes to teach you something which is the essence of P7. Please remember, books, no, practice. Practice is what will make you successful in P7. Practice is what will make you successful in P7. You have to practice a lot. You have to practice a lot, because if you fail to practice, that will not bring any results to your success. So I think the key emphasis, which you all must agree, the key emphasis has been how to tackle the paper, right? And I hope these tackling of papers must have contributed a lot towards your motivation level as you prepare for March 18 exams. Right? Is this session productive for you? I wish you best of luck. I wish you best of luck for March 18 exams. I believe in you, right? I believe in you. I believe what I have taught you. If you implement that, you will not be sitting in the next P7 webinar. You will not be sitting in the next P7 webinar. You will be through. You will be through. Please ensure it's all about implementation. It's all about implementation. You need to implement. You need to implement what you have learned through the session, because this the only thing where I have a risk is that you would still bring your own myths and philosophies to implementation. You need to implement exactly what you have learned, because that will bring out your success. That will bring out your success in P7. So once again, I wish you best of luck for your exams in March 18. It was wonderful interacting with all of you over the chat window in the WhatsApp group, and been a wonderful session. I hope you've learned something. If any confusion still exists, if any problem still exists, you have the WhatsApp group to correspond with me. And I hope the tips, the techniques, the mnemonics, the marking schemes all across the session would go down playing a crucial part in your success. The repeaters particularly, please find your weaknesses. Please find your weaknesses, because if you fail to do so, the result would remain the same. The result would remain the same. So if you want to change your results, please find your weaknesses. If you fail to find your weaknesses, the result would remain the same. I want all of you to pass. I want all of you to pass. Please ensure whatever you have learned, you strongly implement that. Strongly implement that, right? So a big thank you to all of you to be part of this webinar, listening to me for since Monday to Saturday today, over 17 hours and so. And that would mark the end of this webinar. Best of luck. Best of luck. Believe in yourself and believe that you can pass this paper. And hopefully the things would be so positive this time when the results are announced for March 18 exams. Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful session. Goodbye. Allah Hafiz.